Hey y'all, it's Jen the Spooky Ghoul and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, we are currently in Ocklawaha, Florida for the Ma Barker tour. If you're not familiar with the history of Ma Barker, back in 1935 here in Ocklawaha, Florida, the FBI surrounded the Barker Karpus gang in the rented house, or Ma, the mother, Ma Barker's house, and they had an alleged 4-hour shootout, which unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you see it, resulted in the deaths of Ma Barker and her son, Fred. Now, the FBI portrayed Ma Barker as this ruthless mastermind that was behind all of the Barker/Karpus gang's crimes. Others think that she might have just been caught up in the criminal world that her sons unfortunately kind of led her into. Some quick information about the tour if you're interested in taking it. The admission fee is $10, and they do have a morning tour and an afternoon tour. We are taking the afternoon tour at 12 p.m. When you arrive here, we're currently at Carney Island Recreational Park, and you park here and a tram will pick us up essentially and take us to the off-beaten path where the Ma Barker house is located currently. So if you're interested to know more and see the full tour of the Ma Barker house, stay tuned, grab a drink and a snack, sit back and relax, and let's get spooky.
Went down to the river, washed my sins away, and praying for another day. I went down.
And the house made national news when they floated it across the lake to this location from the original location. First off, it was not the FBI. It was the Division of Investigation. This is January 16, 1935. FBI did not take on that name till January 1, 1936. However, Department of Investigation worked underneath the Justice Department, who is headed by J. Edgar Hoover. So, close enough to be the FBI, pretty much. We even say FBI from time to time. Longest shootout in the history of the FBI, they say. Over 5 hours long. Started about 7, ended around 9, but nobody went in the house till noon. So there's your 5 hours. 2,000 rounds was fired into this house by the agents. That is a number has been out there for many, many, many years. The actual count of bullet holes they found in this house was 641. Of that 641, 147 of them are in that upstairs room there. Of that 147, there's 9 high-powered rifle shots in Freddie's left shoulder, 3 to his head, 2 of them penetrating his skull. And Ma had 3 bullet wounds in her chest area close to her heart. And no matter how we try to get rid of that myth, as they say, when the myth gets larger than the truth, they always print the myth. So, 641. They estimated that the Barkers fired out 250. Still a long, fierce battle because 2,005 and some hours, or 641 in 2 hours. So, it was a pretty fierce gun battle. Yes, Ma and Freddie died in his house. Yes, the house, they floated it across the lake. How the county got involved in this house. The house, first I'll tell you about the house. The house was built in 1930 over here on North Shore. It sat on 9 acres, 6 acres that was prime real estate right on the north shore of the lake. The rest of it was across the street. The Bradford family had purchased that property in 1892. In 1930, Carson Bradford Jr. built his house over there. They lived in Miami at the time, and they thought it would be cooler up here in the summertime, than Miami, sitting on the lake, Central Florida.
Yeah, right.
I live over here across from the lake, and I don't know if it's any cooler here in Miami in the summer or not, but that was their theory. It was built just as a vacation home, a summer home, weekend getaways, and this house was still used up until 2014. 4-bedroom, 2 bathrooms, all electrical. One of the first houses built with what they called gypsum board at that time. Of course, we all call it drywall now, but so every bullet hole that was in the house at one time had been patched. And you can take those pictures in there and hold them up to the wall, and you can see where they've been patched. They didn't know what they were doing. They did a really, really poor job of patching them. So, but they're easy to find. There are some holes you'll find, but if you look around it, it was patched. But knives and pocket knives over time have dug those out. Before they moved the house, they had a metal detecting group come over there and metal detect all that property. And they come up with some little incidentals. Around some of the trees, they would find shell casings where the agents had fired into the house. They found bullets where the Barkers had fired at the agents. And they found something pretty interesting. Freddie Barker was been known to wear a little gold pinky ring like a lot of gangsters and mafia people do. And they found this little ring, gold ring, and it had the initials in it of FGB, which would have stood for Frederick George Barker. So Mr. Albright has that in safekeeping. So how the county got this house, the heirs had put it up for sale with Sotheby's Auction House in New York for the 9 acres. This house, another house sitting over here, and all the contents in this house. They wanted $1 million for it. They wanted somebody to turn it into a museum. They had 0 takers. Finally, some developers got together and they wanted the property. They did not care about these houses. They wanted that prime real estate. So they ended up buying it for $750,000. They'd already tore down the brick home it set back here and was fixing to tear this house down. When I say George Albright III, who's our county tax collector, he grew up just down from this house, and he went to the county commissioners and said they will give us this house and all the contents in it. There's one catch. We got to have it off of that property in 30 days. Believe it or not, county government can work quickly. Within 30 days, they came up with somewhere between $230,000 and $260,000 to relocate that house from over there to here. This was all the woods, all that. Over there, they put these remote control pneumatic wheels underneath the house. Over there, they could dig in the sand to get the wheels under it. They drove it up on this little makeshift bars made out of floating pieces, looked like a jigsaw puzzle. And they pushed the house over here with a little 16-foot John boat.
Wow.
Anything they thought would get broke, they laid in the floor. They did not strap that chimney down. They got it over here. As you can see here, it's real steep to the lake, so they couldn't bring it straight up here. So they cleared this path out down that way and to your right, not near as steep there. They drove the house up here, remote controlly, set it on this monolithic concrete slab it sits on now, and they couldn't get the wheels out from under it because over there they dug in the sand. Now we're on this concrete. So the house sits exactly 2 blocks higher today than it did its original location. Those are the original steps. You can notice if you get close to them, the bottom 2 steps have been added. These brick columns you see around it, those are actually concrete block now. They had a gentleman, masonry guy, shave all those original brick down and they stuck them up there on the concrete. It's kind of like a facade, but they are still the original brick that the house set on the original location. It sits exactly from that screen door to the water's edge as it did over there. The big difference is now we sit this way to the lake, we're over there, and sit that way to the lake. Another interesting thing in there is in the room off of the kitchen, there's an old door back there. Still, you can see where bullets have hit it. We kind of call it the mystery door. That door was not with the house when they got ready to move it, but just a day or so before they got ready to move it, the workers, when they got there that morning, that door was leaned up next to the house. It's just our theory here that somebody had that old door, been handed down a few generations, and decided if the house is being moved, that door needed to go with the house. Kind of interesting. Probably 80% of the furniture in there is still the original furniture. It was put in there when the house was built, and you can look at all the pictures in there, and all the most of that furniture has went through the gun battle when the Fed was here. A little bit about Ma Barker. Anybody ever seen that movie Bloody Mama starring Shelley Winters? You have? Got her as this cigar chomping machine gun, toting Bloody Mama, planned all the bank robberies, planned all the kidnappings. Well, my opinion of that movie is the only thing they got correct was they named all 4 boys correctly. Day after this gun battle, when a 61-year-old Ma Barker lay dead here, J. Edgar Hoover said Ma Barker was the most dangerous, vicious, resourceful criminal mind of the last decade. Could it be because the first time a federal agent had ever killed a woman? If you talk to friends and family about Ma Barker, they would have told you she was nothing more than a simple Southern lady, jigsaw puzzles, crossword puzzles, listened to hillbilly music, enjoyed going to movies once in a while, and went to church on Sunday. His version, that version. Neither one of them really tell you the truth. Ma Barker was never police photographed, never police fingerprinted, never arrested for any crime. And in my opinion, the number one thing is all criminals or whatever are probably recognized by somebody being at the scene of a crime. Of course, nowadays we've got cameras everywhere, you know, but nobody has ever placed Ma Barker at the scene of a crime. So, Ma Barker was born August the 3rd, 1873. Her real name is Arizona Donnie Clark. She didn't like that name, so she started calling herself Kate or Katie. When she was in her late teens, she married a gentleman named George Elias Barker. Together they had 4 children. Herman, Lloyd, Arthur, they called him Doc, and of course Freddie, her youngest. Ma and all 4 boys will die by gunfire. And if y'all get tired of sitting on these hard seats, feel free to get up and walk around. He also said that Ma would never let him discipline the boys. So he just kind of left the picture, left her out in Tulsa, Oklahoma. At that time, now she's left by herself. She lived pretty much in a tar shack, a dirt floor. While in prison, Freddie met a gentleman named Alvin Karpus. And they were both paroled in 1931, 1932. Arthur or Doc got paroled. They soon met up. And that is the nucleus of what they call the Barker Karpus gang. Went through the Midwest, terrorizing it, robbing banks, furniture stores, jewelry stores, anywhere they thought there was money, they would rob it. About this time, J. Edgar Hoover had started what he called his war on crime. And he started having these public enemies like Machine Gun Kelly, Babyface Nelson, on down John Dillinger, Bonnie and Clyde. And they were starting to take these out. So the Barker Carpus gang knew that they were slowly coming up. So they decided they would go to St. Paul, Minnesota. It was kind of a safe haven for gangsters and mafia people. It was kind of ran by a gentleman named Big Tom Brown. He was the chief of police there. He would invite the criminals and gangsters or whatever to come to town to spend their money. He had one rule: do not commit a crime in my city limits. There was even a newspaper article written about that time that said since he became chief of police, that the crime rate in St. Paul was drastically reduced. It would be because of gangsters and mafia people. They were pretty much policing themselves. So they're in St. Paul, and right after the Lindbergh kidnapping, they kind of decided, you know, this might be a better route to go. You know, you kidnap somebody rich, you send a ransom note, you get your money, you release that person, all's good. So they decide that they will kidnap a gentleman named William Ham. His dad owned a ham brewing company there in St. Paul. They kidnapped him. They sent a ransom note for $100,000. In 3 days, they had their money. This is 1934, 33. So 3 days they had their money. All is good. Months passed. They decided, well, that's easy. You know, we're used to coming out of banks getting shot at, and all, we're killing people. And they decided they would kidnap this gentleman named Edward Bremer. His dad was the president of the largest bank in Minnesota, and he owned the Smith Brewing Company up there. Well, they kidnap him, and they send a ransom note this time for $200,000. Well, things didn't quite work out as planned. The first thing that happened was old man Bremer, he tried to negotiate the price down. They didn't go for that. So then it's set up for them to get their money, and they were alerted by Big Tom Brown that it was a setup, that they were going to be assassinated. So that fell through. Finally, they get their money, and inside one of the suitcases was a note from old man Bremer, and it said, even though you told me not to get the feds involved, they demanded to write down all the serial numbers of this money. Therefore, making it hot money. It's hard to launder. If you try to spend any of it, they're going to follow you everywhere you've been. So, the other thing they didn't know, old man Bremer is close personal friends with Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the president. He even mentions this kidnapping in one of his fireside chats. He's putting pressure on J. Edgar Hoover to find these kidnappers. So the Barker Carpus gang, they know he's coming after them. They decide to split up. Arthur or Dot goes back to Chicago. Ma and Freddie and a gentleman named Harry Campbell, they go to Miami. Alvin Carpus and his very pregnant girlfriend, Dolores Delaney, they go to Cuba. Well, while they're in Miami, they're staying at the El Commodore Motel. It's ran by a gentleman named Joe Adams. So they approached Mr. Adams, said that they would like to find a place in Florida to get out of the cold winters up north. They would prefer a place that had good hunting, good fishing, and off the beaten path of Florida. Well, Joe Adams knew Carson Bradford Jr. built this house. They were on the board of directors at the Biscayne Kennel Club together. So he approaches Mr. Bradford, said he's got this elderly lady or the two sons, like to rent your house at Lake Weir. They're named Blackburn. Mr. Bradford said, no, we've never rented a house. We're not going to start now. Later, Freddie and Harry Campbell drive up from Miami to Lake Weir, and they find this house. It's everything they want. Sits on a lake, be good fishing. Middle of the Ocala National Forest, be good hunting. Ocklawaha, Florida, pretty much off the beaten path of everything in Florida.
Yeah,
Still is.
Yeah.
thankfully.
So they
Yes.
go back and they offer Mr. Bradford $75 a month cash, pay the first and last month up front, and he accepts the money. At that time, houses around the lake was going from anywhere from $8 to $25 a month. So I always said that should have been Mr. Bradford's first clue that something's not quite right. It's rumored that he had ran up a little bit of gambling debt down at the kennel. November the 7th, 1934, Ma and Freddie and Harry Campbell moved into this house over there. Everything's great. They fit in with the locals. They got to be friends with the Absher family over at Bellevue, who was kind of high up in the Marion County, and they were hunting and fishing. Finally, on January the 8th, 1935, they locate where Doc's at in Chicago. They surround his house. Doc comes walking out the door, walking down the sidewalk, sees the agents following him, tries to get between two parked cars there on the ice, and slips and falls. The agents are there with their weapons, and the first thing they asked him said, "What's your name?" And Doc's reply was, "You know who I am." He said, "Well, that's right, Doc. Where's your weapons?" He said, "In that house right there. Ain't that a hell of a place for them to be today?" They take him, immediately ship him back to St. Paul. Inside that house, they find a big Florida map, kind of Ocala, Central Florida circled, and they find a letter that Ma had written to Doc, basically saying they were enjoying the winter, hunting and fishing's been good, and your brother is still trying to capture Old Joe. Old Joe being this legendary 17-foot gator that swims in a lake in Florida. That same evening, they surround the house of a gentleman named Brian Bolton. Brian Bolton's, he had been in on both kidnappings with the Barker Carpus gang. His real big claim to fame was he was the lookout guy for Al Capone at the St. Valentine's Day Massacre, which he recognized as the guy, but whatever. Anyway, they surround his house. There's a shootout there. One gentleman gets killed. Brian Bolton surrenders. He ends up telling the feds that he knows where Alvin Carpus and Ma and Freddie's at. Said it's close to Jacksonville. Sits on a lake. Good hunting and fishing because he had been down here a few weekends before. So the agents immediately go to Jacksonville. They didn't find nothing there. They hear about this big gator up by Gainesville. They go up there. Come to find out that gator has been killed many years ago. So Old Joe Gator brings the feds to Lake Weir, Ocklawaha, Florida. Legendary 17-foot gator. They go to the postmaster, and they asked the postmaster, "Do you know anybody new in town?" He said, "Well, the Blackbird," and that's an alias that the Barkers had used before. So the postmaster tells them, "If you want to know more about them, the Ritt and the Bradford home, you should go talk to their neighbor over here, Mr. Barber. He just retired from being a prison guard at Leavenworth." So they go talk to Mr. Barber, show him some pictures of Freddie. He recognized Freddie as one of the guys that's been around the house. And then it dawns on him, he thinks he remembers who the old lady is. She used to come and visit her son Lloyd when he was doing 25 years at Leavenworth. So the feds know they have him. So Earl Connolly, the special agent in charge over here on Mr. Barber's porch, he draws a map of the house. occupied cottage, unoccupied cottage, a old shed, a chicken coop, some orange trees, a 2-car garage, of course, Mr. Barber's house, and down closer to the water is Miss Westbury's house. And it shows where he wanted all of his men positioned for the next day. There was 14 total agents.
Wow.
That surrounded this house. So, everything I'm going to tell you now is well documented. Every agent did a memo the day after this shootout. Probably started writing out on car hoods, get back to the office, typing them up on typewriters, missing keys, missing letters through 4 sheets of carbon paper, the way you used to make copies of stuff. Very hard reading. You have to almost use your mind what words they're trying to say. It's over 1,200 pages long. I have not read it all. I basically based this story off of Special Agent Charge Connolly, Agent Doc White, and Agent McDade's. They're the easiest reading ones. Connolly says they surrounded the house about 5 o'clock in the morning. Somewhere close to 7, it was starting to get a little bit more daylight than dark. And Connolly steps forward, says 30 yards from that screen door, and says they have the house surrounded by federal agents. If everybody will come out with their hands in the air, no one will be injured. Minutes pass, they don't hear nothing. Doc White steps forward, basically says the same thing. They hear nothing. Connolly steps forward the second time, and this time he adds that they want Freddie Barker first. I mean, they know he's a cold-blooded killer. This group has killed over 30 people. You could take all the public enemies out there, and the most closest one would have been Bonnie and Clyde, and that's debatable if Bonnie ever killed anyone, but Clyde killed 9. You could not come up with 30 total. So they're a ruthless bunch. He tells them, if you don't come out, we're going to fire gas canisters into the house. Doc White's memo says he hears a woman's voice say, "What are you going to do?" They don't know who it is. There could be 6 people in the house. You know, Carpus and his girlfriend, Campbell and his girlfriend. So it just says a woman's voice. McDade's memo says he then hears a lady's voice say, "What are you going to do?" Well, they think maybe they're going to surrender, but that didn't happen. So finally, Connolly tells them to fire the gas canisters. Well, they're too far away. They land up in the yard out here. One of them hits the side of the house. So now all these agents over in this area have tear gas in their eyes. And the minute the one that hits the side of the house, it says that machine gun fire came from the southwest upper windows. And that window up there. They immediately returned fire. The machine guns got Connolly trying to get back to some cover. And one of the memos says, simultaneous then, that gunfire, doesn't say machine gun fire, just says gunfire came from the lower southwest windows. So if that's to be the truth, that pretty much tells us that Ma Barker picked up a weapon. Until this point, she's probably only guilty of harboring a criminal. But now she's fired on federal agents. Doc White returned fire immediately. His memo says that gunfire only lasted 2 or 3 seconds. And then the gunfire is coming out of every room in the house, upstairs, downstairs, somebody running around, making it appear there's more than just 2 people. Around 8:30, Connolly has decided that there's probably only 2 people in the house. So he tells some of the agents to go up to the highway and get some more gas canisters. There was an agent up there that was directing traffic on the highway up there, January 16, 1935, Ocklawaha, Florida. Now, I'm sure there was a lot of traffic. That was his job. They went and got some gas canisters, came up on the back side of the house. Those canisters did get inside the house. Now the gun battle's out the backside for a while. It ends up back up here in this room. Connolly tells all these agents to concentrate your gunfire on that room. Connolly's memo says at 9 o'clock it got eerily quiet. But Dave's memo says that no gunfire came out of the house after 9:15. So give or take 10-15 minutes there is pretty much over with. Now they hear some rumblings coming out of this little cottage over here. And out walks a 26-year-old man of color, Willie Woodbury. I said, "What are you doing here?" He said, "Well, my wife and I have been hiding under the bed for the last several hours." I said, "Well, why are you here?" He said, "Well, I'm the caretaker for the blackbirds. Take care of the chickens, take care of the grove, run all their errands for them. Wife does a little cooking for them." So now, a little bit of controversy here because Connolly telegraphs J. Edgar Hoover in Worcester, and he states that Willie Woodbury has volunteered to be the first person to go in the house. Of course, J. Edgar Hoover's reply was, "What are you thinking? You're going to send a civilian in now?" Well, they interviewed Willie Woodbury several years later. The Tampa Tribune did, and in that article, he says he was gave $20 and a bulletproof vest to be the first one to go in the house. So there's a little controversy there. Willie says he approached that screen door and it was latched on the inside. So one of the agents gives him a pocket knife. He slashes the screen, unlatches it, goes in the main dining or the main living room, and he states that the floor is covered in spent shell casings and glass everywhere, and there's a small pool of blood over in front of those two lower windows. He notes that there's blood going up the stairway, up the upstairs. He finally pokes his head out of those windows up there, and he says they're both here, they're both dead. So now Coroner Futch comes down from Ocala, holds a quick inquiry who fired first. It was determined the Barkers fired first. And he goes into great detail about Freddie, his position, what clothes, the color of his clothes, everything. And all it says about Ma is that Kate Barker's body was removed from the scene. We've never figured that out. Why so much about Freddie when you almost had to step over Ma. I got to Freddie, but that was it. Finally, can't think of the name then. Anyway, the mortuary, Powell Mortuary comes down here from Ocala. They take the bodies back to the up there, and they clean them up a little bit, and they put them on display, these two bodies, on these metal slabs for 30 days. It was one of the biggest things that ever happened in Marion County. They started out charging a dime for you to walk through there and view these bodies. As the crowd got smaller, they reduced that price down to a nickel. But at the end of 30 days, they were taken down to the morgue, put on ice, and the bodies remained there for the next 8 months.
Oh my gosh.
Nobody came to claim them. Now, the Barkers was found with 14 $1,000 bills here, plus 200 and some odd dollars and other money. Daddy George, who is still legally married to Mother, still the daddy of Freddie, put in a claim to get their belongings and money. Through all the court system, what wasn't determined to be ill-gotten, Daddy George ends up with $1,400 bills. And he used that money to come and claim the bodies and locate them, transport them back to Welch, Oklahoma, where they're buried out there in the William Timber Hill Cemetery. So that's the end of Mom Freddie. as I said, Ma and all four boys died of gunshot. The first to die would have been Herman, the oldest, always in and out of trouble. He and another gentleman robbed the ice company in Wichita, Kansas, and they get away with the robbery. They're pulled over for speeding by two policemen on motorcycles, and the policeman on Herman's side, on the driver's side, approaches the window, and Herman reaches for his revolver and puts two bullets right through his forefront teeth, immediately killing him. The other officer fires into the car, wounding him. They drive off, finally wreck the car in a ditch of a 24-hour diner. And the police report there said that Herman exited the vehicle, was crawling across the gravel parking lot, uttered the words, "Tell Ma I'm sorry," and takes his revolver and blows out his brains other than to go back to jail. Into Herman. Of course, then Ma and Freddie. The next to die would be Doc or Arthur. He was sentenced to Alcatraz for life. Been there a little over 4 years, and he decided, he and three other gentlemen, they would try the first night escape from Alcatraz. Went missing at the 3 a.m. count. The guards immediately go to the water. They find them, tell them surrender. Two of them surrender. Doc and Dale Stemple take off for the water. They shoot Dale Stemple in the back of his leg, and they put a bullet right in the back of Doc's head, immediately killing him. Into Doc. The next to die is Daddy George. He died of, there's a big long name for it. It's basically old age, and he was 88 years old. And the last to die would have been Lloyd, the second oldest. And I tell everybody, you can't make this one up. Lloyd ran with his brother Herman when he was young, in and out of trouble, decided to go straight. He joins the Army, serves through World War I, gets out with an honorable discharge. Doing good. One day he decided he might try the criminal life again. He robs United States Postal Service payroll truck. He's immediately apprehended. He is sentenced to 25 years at Leavenworth, where Mr. Barber over here would have known him from. 1938, the Federal Bureau of Prisons comes to Lloyd and says, "Look, you have been a model prisoner. No incident reports. Your mother's dead. All your brothers are dead. You have no criminal family. You are paroled free to go." He joins the Army the second time, serves through World War II as at a POW camp in Fort Custer, Michigan, as a cook. Gets out with his second honorable discharge. Marries his girlfriend, Jeannie. Jeannie has two children by a previous marriage, and they two together have two children, Michael and Eileen. They end up south of Denver. He's an assistant manager cook at the DeNargo Bar and Grill. Everything's going good. He's getting ready to go open up the bar one morning, and Jeannie says she's not feeling well. After you get the bar open, would you come home and take the two younger children to school? Being the good daddy we think he is, that's what he did. He walked up his back steps, something similar to those, and Jeannie is standing there with a 12-gauge shotgun and blows 3/4 of his head off.
Oh.
She said she thought it was an intruder coming to get her children. Her son, by the previous marriage, testified in court that she knew exactly what she was doing and she had been planning it for a long time. The courts agreed with him. They sentenced her to life at an insane asylum in Pueblo, Colorado, where she died some 33 years later of old age. So that's pretty much the end of the Barkers. And I know before you ask, whatever happened to Michael and Eileen? I have searched and researched. You can find no clue of them. I'm sure the mama didn't. And they was fostered somewhere, and I'm sure they changed their names or whatever. They want nothing to do with that name. You can't find them. A little bit about Alvin Karpus. he, excuse me, he was the brains of the outfit. He had a photographic memory. He would plan the bank robberies and the kidnappings. He would even run his getaway route because he could remember what roads, never on main roads. But he was in Miami the day the shootout took place. They ended up going up to Atlantic City where there was a shootout there, and he and Harry Campbell leave their girlfriends there, and they take off. They go to Ohio. They finally end up robbing a train there. Karpis by this time has he owns an airplane, hired a pilot to fly him to Hot Springs, Arkansas. And about this same time now, we're 1935, 1936, J. Edgar Hoover is in front of the congressional budget hearings, and he's wanting more money for his now FBI. And a young senator from Tennessee asked Mr. Hoover, how many people have you arrested? Well, my men have arrested this many public enemies, this many criminals, da-da-da-da-da. Mr. Hoover, how many people have you arrested? Of course, the answer being 0. So he's got pressure on him now to arrest somebody. Agents go, through the postal masters or whatever. They finally locate a lady named Grace Goldstein who had taken up with Alvin Karpis. And they pretty much browbeat her, give her the 3rd degree. She finally tells them that Alvin Karpis is somewhere around New Orleans, but she doesn't remember the address. So the agents take off for New Orleans. They find where Karpis is. They telephone Mr. Hoover. Said, we've got him. Now, Alvin Karpis wrote 2 books in his lifetime. One was called Public Enemy Number 1, the Alvin Karpis story, and the other one was named On the Rock, where he ended up spending 26 years at Alcatraz. And I use Alvin Karpis' story, how his arrest went down, mainly because I don't believe what one part over here might say, but this one here's more entertaining. Alvin Karpis says he and another gentleman came out of the house. The agents are there with their weapons pulled on them in their car, and one of the agents says, we've got him, Chief. You can come out now. I went to 2 houses down. J. Edgar Hoover and Clyde Colson come walking between 2 houses, and yes, J. Edgar Hoover said, Alvin Karpis, you are under arrest by the FBI. So it goes down in the history books that J. Edgar Hoover arrested the very last public enemy number 1.
Wow.
Then Mr. Hoover said, cuff him, boys. Nobody had handcuffs. They did not come here to take Alvin Karpis alive. Agent Buchanan takes off his tie, and they tie Alvin Karpis' hands, take him to headquarters there in New Orleans, fly him to St. Paul, where he finally pleads guilty to the Ham kidnapping, and he's sentenced to life at Alcatraz. Like I say, the longest, 26 years at Alcatraz. Somewhere around 1962, they decided they would shut Alcatraz down. It's become too expensive to operate a prison on an island. You got to ship everything in and out. They moved some of those prisoners to McNeil Island Penitentiary off the coast of Tacoma, Washington. Incidentally, they shut that down too because it was too expensive to operate a penitentiary on an island. But while he's there, and they used to call Alvin Karpis creepy. You never called that to his face. To his face, you would call him Ray. But in his book, On the Rock, he meets this gentleman named Little Charlie. And he said Little Charlie gave him the creeps. But Little Charlie wanted to learn to play the guitar. So Alvin Karpis teaches Little Charlie how to play the guitar. Little Charlie gets paroled, Come to find out, little Charlie is none other than Charles Manson of the Veronica Tate murders in California, who always wanted to be this big rock and roll star, hung out with the Beach Boys. Alvin Karpis taught him how to play the guitar. Alvin Karpis is paroled in 1969, spends a little time in Canada, ends up in Spain. He finally dies over there at age 77. His death certificate says he died of an accidental overdose of sleeping pills. So, end of the Barker Karpis gang. You're going to see a lot of pictures in the house. There's only one picture photograph that was taken the day of the shootout. All that film was put in a light blue envelope, flown to Chicago to get developed. Somewhere along the line, it got sunlight to it, and so it was all blurry. There was one in there. So the photos that most of what you're going to see in there came from Revell Studios out of Ocala and was taken the day after this shootout. So, top of the steps, the date when the house was built in 1930. I will add this, I don't know if I said it, but the kitchen and both bathrooms have been remodeled, and that's because, you know, they kept using the house to 2014. So let's go in the house. I know I get long-winded, but
Did they
to me, if I don't tell a whole story about it, it's nothing more than a house that the federal agents fired into and killed 2 people.
Right. Thank you, Terry.
You can take all the pictures you want. Like most house tours you go on, we don't have any rooms roped off. You can pick up pictures and look at them, hold them up to the wall, you'll see where they patched the holes. I'd like to tell you that was Small Barker car, but it's not. They had a 1934 movie.
Ooh, nice. Gorgeous, huh? This is a car.
Gun's great too.
Oh, where's the gun? Oh, right here. Look at that.
I tell everyone, even these rocking chairs on.
Old style Florida cracker home. This is the front porch. That's where we were with our guide Terry, who was so knowledgeable and very entertaining at best. And I'm sure you must have heard him in the tour, but these are actually the original steps of the house, except for the 2 steps at the very bottom. All right. Now there are people here, so I'm going to be really respectful and mindful, so we'll go in. So what's really awesome about this tour is that we're inside. It is air conditioned, which is really nice on such a warm day here in Florida. And Terry said that we're able to kind of touch basically anything in the house. No room is roped off. Oh, wow. These are the bodies of Fred and then Ma. Wow. And then the reward for $1,200. Alvin Creepy Karpis. Crazy. Ooh, he looks creepy. So I'm trying to find... Oh, so that would have been a bullet hole, right? So this is probably an original bullet hole from the shootout that day, but it's been poorly kind of drywalled, and so this is a bullet hole. Wow. Oh yeah, they really didn't do a good job, huh? These are...
Simultaneous gunfire came from downstairs, and then Billy Woodbury says that every time it changed hands for somebody to read, they signed their names across it. That's impossible to read. Yes, try reading 1,200 pages of that. Nobody knows where any of the weapons are at that they confiscated here. This is a copy of when the firearms were shipped on this docket out of Jacksonville in 2 wooden boxes going to Washington, D.C. When they got to Washington, D.C., there was nothing in it, a couple of fabric suitcases where they had food broken.
That's probably an old.
Is another bullet hole here. That is so cool. History, very cool. Okay, we're gonna go up the stairs. So Terry mentioned that there was blood kind of going up the stairs too. Oh, wow.
One time, especially like these, when somebody pulled that one out, it took some of the paint with it.
Yeah.
But they were all passed at one time. This is the room where both bodies are found.
Okay.
First off, this picture here, if you hold that up to that door there, that's Maul's body laying there next to that door. Somehow Maul got up here and Freddie helped get her up here, whatever. But I think she was shot downstairs. He got her up here. That tells us why Willie Woodbury would have saw some blood coming up the steps.
In the movie, too, they got killed outside in the movie.
And
Yeah.
she's pushed way back there next to that closet door. So I think as Freddie kept running around the house shooting, he didn't have to step over her body every time. And this is an old bulletproof vest kind of covering up her head. This is not the original bed. Freddie's body's found laying right here. Every picture I've ever seen, this chair is over here in this general area. Freddie only stood 5'4", weighed 115 pounds.
Oh, he was so small.
So, little bitty Freddie, sitting in that chair, we think he was looking out through this hole there. We know that an agent out that way had a high-powered rifle. And you can see the 9 high-powered rifle shots on Freddie's left shoulder right there. We think that Freddie took those sitting in that chair, what didn't hit a bone or something. 4 of them came on through in that chair. Now, for those shots to be all in that closely knitted area, if you're getting hit by a high-powered rifle, you're going to be da-da-da. We think Freddie was probably already dead when he took those 9 from the bullet wounds to his head. Eventually he falls out of that chair over here, and that's why he ends up on the floor here. If you open that closet door there, you'll find that none of the floors in the closets have ever been refinished. There's a picture on that little table. The Marion County Forensics was out here, and they determined that they could see some blood there, but not enough to tell anything about it. Harvey Bailey, who's went down in history is known as the Dean of American Bank Robbers. They interviewed him one time, and they asked him, because he grew up with the Barker boys in Tulsa, said, did Maul Barker plan all these robberies and kidnappings? And his reply was, Maul Barker could not plan breakfast.
Just a nice old lady.
Right, went to church on Sunday.
She would protect her sons at all times.
Right,
Exactly.
right.
Yeah.
When they would get in trouble with the law, she would go in there and just cry in front of the judges, and told this one judge once that said, if y'all would quit picking on my boys, they wouldn't be in trouble. Duh.
What do you think about any paranormal activity or anything? Have you heard? I've heard, and you know.
Have you ever went and looked at Soul Sisters Paranormal?
You know, oh, I've heard of them. I think they have a podcast, don't they?
They might.
Yeah.
They're out of Ocala.
Oh, okay.
It's called Soul Sisters, S-O-U-L Sisters. Christy, one of the sisters, have been in the house, and they've set up different equipment.
Have you ever experienced anything that was unexplained?
And I'm in this house
All the time.
I mean, I'm over here a lot by myself, coming and doing something,
Right.
whatever. And no, I'll tell you this much of what I think of it.
Sure.
In her video, she's talking to Ma and she's talking to Freddie, and then at some point she tries to talk to Alvin Karpus.
Oh, okay.
And
He wasn't
Alvin
here.
Karpus had only spent one night in this house on his way to Miami.
Right. He's
So
not hanging
and
around.
He didn't get killed here or nothing.
Right.
But anyway, she's talking to him, and yeah, you can hear something. But if it didn't scroll across the bottom, I have no idea what they said.
I know. Fair
That
enough.
happens a lot with
That
this.
happens a lot, I think.
But there's, people believe it, and whatever. I say every house is haunted if it'll help sell a ticket.
Amen to that. Very, very. That is
just-
fair. Hey, y'all. It's Jen from the future. So that conversation that I had with Terry about the paranormal activity extended quite a bit, but the footage is gone. I don't know where it went. Kind of creepy. Could totally be something paranormal, or let's be real, probably human error. But I find it really strange that all of my footage is there except this one particular piece. Super creepy. Anywho, I'm going to do my best to do some ghost storytelling. So Terry shared 2 instances of guests experiencing some type of paranormal activity. He mentioned that he always has FBI agents attend the tours, but there was one in particular. They were upstairs, and this is the same room that they found Fred and Ma's body. And the FBI agent was up there. Terry's chatting with the group, and Terry said that the FBI agent, kind of crashed out a little bit. He just said, I got to get out of here. I can't be in here. And he left. Now, this house is so isolated from the park as well as the main road. It's pretty gnarly. It's real deep. It is real deep in the Ocala forest. So I doubt he left the actual property, but he seemed like he did leave the room, if not the house. The second story kind of unsettled me a bit. So this time it was a woman on the tour, and they were downstairs, and she was standing in front of the red velvet chase sofa, just staring at it. Well, another guest on the tour sees this, approaches the woman, and asks, "Is everything okay?" And the woman says, "She won't stop talking to me." Super creepy. Terry said that he and the lady backed up. They were like, okay. I wish I had the footage to show you. Terry was a fantastic storyteller. So Terry, if you are indeed watching, make sure to keep me honest. Hopefully I did you proud. So I don't know, y'all. Is it haunted? Is it not? I think the ruling's out for me. Very compelling stories. Anywho, continue with the video. I'll see you on the other side.
Here. You can see
Oh, sure can.
all them bullet holes in that door. That's not the original mirror, but I have had that mirror down, and where you see where those bullets busted that mirror, behind that mirror, the same place is where they patched those holes.
Well, it's so obvious this was the vantage point.
I have never been up in the attic.
Oh, you haven't been yet? Is it accessible?
The old, yeah, you can get up through there. The old park ranger that used to be here, Lonnie, he'd been up there, and he said there's still places in the rafters where bullets had hit him, which I believe because they redone this cedar closet and they left this spot out. A bullet had came through that bedroom wall over there.
That's some
And came up through here and clipped that old 2x4 there.
That's some high power rifles. That was no joke.
So
And this is the trunk that had all the photos in it?
no,
Oh.
it was in that room over there.
Oh my
I don't
god.
think there's really anything. Yeah, it was the room that was in there. And then that trunk here still got some personal
Oh wow.
clothing and stuff in it. I'm sure it was left out of Bradford's. There's a note in here even. Nobody's removed it.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Please do not touch anything in this cabinet. They are very valuable
To me.
to me.
Fair enough.
Flooring you want, right?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Oh wow.
fun to play.
Yeah. Oh, I see Dillinger here. Carrie, the tour guide, had mentioned that there was a mystery door, I don't know if you remember, and it was brought over, so it was never part of the house, but they brought it over when they moved it across Lake Weir onto the property that we're sitting on now, and here is the mystery door. Just, just chilling in the kitchen.
I think somebody's mad. I'm licensed to carry on the job. If I think somebody's mad at me on the road, no matter, no matter if they give me the finger, I know.
All right, folks, and there you have it, the full tour of the Ma Barker House here in Ocklawaha, Florida. If you are in the area, I highly suggest you take the tour. Terry was so informative. It was about, gosh, almost 2 hours long, and the cost was $10 per person. So for myself and my husband, it was $20. And plus tips. Make sure to tip your tour guide. Terry was incredible. So if you liked what you saw, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It does mean the world to me. I hope you had a great time watching. I know I had a blast filming it. And until next time, stay spooky.